Woo! Hi, everybody. And I'm assuming when I say hi, everybody, it's as if you are all in this room together and you're watching this video, but probably not. Probably what's going on is you are sitting all by yourself at your laptop or on your cell phone or an iPad, and you're watching me do this talk for you. Let me just get this off my chest is I really, truly wish, and I wish we could all just be together. I did a little research, and last year I saw photos of the conference and the annual event and the awards ceremony, and I wish it could be like that. I really do. And I hope my prediction comes true that next year everyone can get together and we'll be together again to hug and see each other and probably not even be wearing a mask. Yeah, I mean, that will just be wild. And what my other prediction will be is I think we're going to be able to do that if things go the way they're sounding like they're going to go. The other thing I think will happen is we will say, hey, remember last year? Remember what we had to do? And probably people are going to go, no, I don't remember. It's like, oh yeah, I remember we had to watch everything on my laptop and I had to just watch these videos and it wasn't live. And so, I really wish it could be different, and it's not. So we have to make the most of what we have, right? We've been dealt these cards and we have to play them. I was talking to Dave, you're the executive director, president of the organization, and I shared with him something I thought, I think this is appropriate to tell this story. At first, you all are going to say, what the heck does this have to do with aging or working with the elderly? And just hang with me. Have you ever seen the TV show, The Deadliest Catch? Reality TV show. It was really popular up until just, I think, a year or two ago. And I think it's still around, but I'm not sure. I never could really watch it because to me, it was somewhat of a psychodrama. I did that job. I worked on the fishing boats in Alaska, in the Bering Sea, fishing for crab, and specifically Alaskan king crab. And the way it came about was my mother knew this other mom who her son ended up being a first mate. So there's the captain and then the first mate, and he was hiring people to do a season. And this is in the mid 80s to go to Alaska and fish. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. So the guy calls me and I interview. And at the end of the interview, he said this phrase to me. He said, well, you could die, right? I thought, well, that's a weird thing to say. It's like, yeah. So, I could die walking out my door. It's like, why would you say that? So anyway, I said yes to the job. Well, I took the job and I got on a boat and I thought, hey, this is amazing. I have a photo even. This is actually the boat I was on right here. It's the Alaskan Enterprise. I haven't seen this boat because I didn't know if I Googled it, I'd actually have a photo come up, but that was the boat that I was actually on. It's 156 feet long. It weighs tons. It's made of steel. And I think it was built in 78 or 79. It was about $5 million to build that boat back then. So it was what was considered a highliner. It was a really high-end boat. But a boat like that, even with two big 16-cylinder Detroit diesel engines, is nothing to the Bering Sea. So it took a while working on this boat to be in the Bering Sea before I figured out why the guy said, you could die, right? Because the reason it's called Deadliest Catch, the TV show, and the reason it is ranked one of the most dangerous jobs in the world to do is when you are in the Bering Sea on a boat like this, you are nothing but a little piece of cork Like if you put a little piece of cork in your bathtub and splash around and you watch, that's like what this boat is to the Bering Sea. It's nothing. And this is not the boat, but I can just give you an idea. I don't know how they took this photo, but this is the kind of image that I used to see in when we had really bad storms in the Bering Sea. It looked like that. And you can see how little that boat looks now. And the waves, what happened is they get so large that they capsize or flip the boat over. And one night we had a really bad storm, and become glaringly apparent why he said, you know, you could die, right? Because the captain said, you better get your survival suits on. And I thought, oh man, you never want to hear the captain say that, because that is the last resort. So they're thick neoprene jumpsuits, and I'll show you what they look like. But I put on my survival suit, and it was weather like this, but it wasn't even light. It was in the dark. And you know how things always seem worse when it's dark, and we're in a storm like this, and the boat is pitching everywhere. And I get my survival suit on, and I'm standing in my room holding on for dear life, and a couple of guys walk in with no survival suits on, and they start to mock me, harass me, say things to me, because I have my survival suit on. Like I'm a wimp. And I'm a wuss, and it's like, you can't handle a storm, which I then said, yeah. You know what this thing is right now? It's a big diaper. And if we flip over, I'm going to have a big poop in it. Said, so yeah, I want my survival suit on. And they look like that. You put that thing on and you can't sink with that thing on. And in icy cold water, it will keep you alive. But here's the thing. If you don't have this survival suit on, you have about 10 to 12 minutes and hypothermia sets in and you're dead. 10 or 12 minutes. And you've noticed this thing about death, right? It lasts a long, long time. And I didn't feel like dying yet. So I put my survival suit on. And thank God, and I mean thank God, the boat did not go down that night. But here's the deal. If you don't have this survival suit on before the boat flips, you can't put it on once you're in the water. You cannot put on a survival suit once you're in the water. You have to put it on before you go in, which is like, oh, you mean I have to really prepare to survive? It's like, yep, you have to do this. Because you can't put it on. Someone could float up to me and I could have them float on me while I'm wearing this thing. I could keep them afloat, but I can't keep them alive because you have to have this on. And something happened that night. Needless to say, I didn't die, but something did happen that changed my life that night on the boat, which I'll tell you what that was. When I was talking to Dave about this story, before I tell you what happened, why am I telling you this? Well, I signed up to be on this boat, to go to Alaska, to be in the Bering Sea, see Alaska, see dolphins and seals, be on a cool boat, hang out. I didn't sign up for any storms. And I didn't sign up to die. I didn't sign up for that stuff. And with our lives now, and especially doing elder care, you probably have had some moments in the last 10 months going, you know what? I didn't sign up for this. None of us did. And the other piece of this analogy is Dave observed was, this COVID has come in waves. It's like you can see in the Bering Sea when really massive swells are coming at you, you can see these things coming. And when you hit that, it's like, okay, this is going to be really bad. And this is like the Center for Disease Control, when they start saying, hey, this is going to be really bad. It's like we see another wave coming. And we try to prepare. And it's so ironic that a survival suit it's personal protection gear. We never had to deal with before. So now we're saying, hey, put on your personal protection gear, just keep yourself alive and to keep others alive. So that's why this whole story just came to be, to share with you guys. It's like, man, this is what it reminds me of. And I didn't sign up for this stuff. And I have just a little teeny sliver, a glimpse into your life in elder care. And it just happened that I didn't mean it to happen. I didn't really sign up for it, but I offered. And it was my wife's relatives, and her name is Carol, and their son Mark, who's my age, and he gets cancer a few years ago, and he asked my wife and I to be his medical advocates. So we are. Sure enough, a couple of years ago, we're in the ICU with Mark, and we had to say, yeah, turn up the drip. It was time to let him go, and he had to die. And then a year after that, we were the medical advocates for his mother, Carol, and we helped her die. And then I'm left with Dad, with Lars, and I'm now his not only medical advocate, but I'm his caregiver. I do what you guys do. And I mean, I've cared for my dad. My dad died a couple of years ago. He was 98, and we bathed him and we fed him, and we did all of that. But that was for my dad, and it was different. And most of my family, we chipped in. We were able to keep he and my mom in the house together. But for Lars, I did the transition that you all are so familiar with. That I helped him go from through the death of his son and his wife, and then move him from his condo to then independent living here in West Michigan at a retirement home, and then from independent living to more dependent living, and then more acute care. And then he died just a couple months ago. And so I was with him and caring for the elder before COVID, and then after COVID and during COVID. And you guys have been through this hellish storm. And that's why I say, hey, I just experienced just a sliver of what you have gone through. And while at this facility, everybody from maintenance to housekeeping to food service to dietitians, social workers, the salespeople, I witnessed both pre and post relationships with everyone across the spectrum, and everyone mattered to him. And he was, may I just say, be honest, brutally honest, he was a pain in the ass at times. I mean, really hard. But even this, grace, which is part of this whole conference, is, I love the definition of grace being treating people better than they deserve to be treated. Treating people better than because there were times that I did not want to treat Lars well because he was so hard to deal with, but I have to keep remembering, no, he's going through a lot right now. And it's just like the poor guy, I can just do what I can do to help his life now. I was a hospice guy for 8 years. So I know that there should be some dignity and respect at the end of life. And I kept pulling back on that experience that I had with hospice to use to get me through. And it was a storm. But here's the deal. When I was in Alaska on the boat, those storms we knew, they're going to end in about, I don't know, they're going to end in about a day or two. This storm, the COVID storm, man, it just keeps going. And then it just like more and bigger swells are coming in. And at least though now we have some glimmer, right? There's a little horizon that we can see that's like, okay, it is going to get better. We just got to stay alive for now, and hang in there. And there were times that I wanted to just quit, right? I just like, screw it. This isn't worth it. But at the same time, it's like, but I don't want to quit. I wanted to persevere in working on the fishing boat. I didn't want to go home and just go, yeah, you just quit, man. I'm going to do something else. It's like, no, I wanted to hang in there. And I'm sure you all have experienced people who they've quit, they've left, and probably good friends and people that you've been close to at work, and now they're gone because of this. And you didn't want that to happen. And some of you have probably thought, hey, I got one foot out the door here, and I get it. But the old phrase that what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And I think there's a lot of truth to that to some degree. going through all that we've gone through, it reminds me of the work I also do. I'm a volunteer with an organization, and it's called CISM, and CISM stands for Critical Incident Stress Management. So I work on a team of people that when bad things happen, critical incident, so someone's a shooting, a murder, a suicide, horrific car crashes and things like that. That's the critical incident, the CI. And then from those incidences, critical incidences, create stress, massive amounts of stress, emotional stress, psychological stress. And then if you have all that going on, well, how are you going to manage that? So what we do as a team of people, and some of you may even be familiar with CISM where you work, and there may be people who are CISM members where you work, but our goal is that anytime someone is traumatized and really overwhelmed emotionally, this is when we come in and do what's called a debrief. Because here, the theory is when really bad, horrific things happen, all that stuff is bouncing around in your brain. And one of the healthiest ways we found and studies show is to get it out. So what we help people do is we help them ventilate, just ventilate, get all that stuff out that you're feeling and that's going on. And then we validate that, whatever they're feeling, no judgment, just validate it. And then we educate. We educate people that if there's been a suicide or there's been a murder, and we're able to educate people on this is probably what you can expect that's going to happen. And we can help people through this. But one of the critical roles that we do is, and I've seen this over and over again, when we go and do a debrief, and you can see people relax when they hear this word. We just say, you're probably feeling, like you can't eat right now and you can't sleep. And yeah. And we say, it's normal. It's like, really? It's like, yeah, it's just really normal. And for any of you and all of you, if you're feeling really overwhelmed and getting really taxed out, and it's like, you feel like quitting. Yeah, that's normal. That's really healthy, normal behavior. But what we don't typically do is seek the help that we need. Some people are embarrassed or there's shame around asking for help. And it's like, what's amazing is I've done a program. It was mostly master's degrees and PhD psychologists. And I asked in that group, I say, how many ever took a class on learning how to ask for help? Raise your hand. Nobody raised their hand. These are PhDs and no one raised their hand. Across the board, when I go out and present and I'll say, hey, has anyone ever taken a class on learning how to ask for help? It's like, no. You know why? Because we don't teach it. And your parents, they didn't take the class either. So how are we supposed to learn? And of all people, working in elder care and caregivers, man, you guys are constantly dumping out your picture of compassion and love to people. It's like, who fills yours? And sometimes just like you got to vent and get it validated and, learn. It's like, oh yeah, this is normal, healthy behavior. But it's not easy, unfortunately. Asking for help it shouldn't be this way. I went to a conference once that was kind of the focus was learning how to ask for help. And I'm just like, this is kind of a weird thing that's just like, really? It's like, yeah. And so it was in Tucson, Arizona. And one of the things they did is they had us to teach us how to ask for help is we did what's called equine therapy, working with horses. So any of you horse people out there, horses, man, they have a really strong sense of people. They can see right through your soul. And I'm from a farm, cows, moo, horses. I don't know. They kind of freak me out a little bit. I never worked with horses. So anyway, they bring us into a horse arena and you could just pick a horse. And these are the three things the therapist showed us to do with your horse. You pick a big horse and you know, he said, meet the horse, get to know him. So talk to him, and then groom the horse. So you have a big brush that you put on your hand and you pet the horse or groom it, brush it. And then the third thing was take a hoof pick, which is a wooden handle with a little metal thing that has a hook on it. And the therapist, horse trainer guy showed us that what you do is you back up against a horse like this and you pick its leg up and you clean out its hoof and you set it down. That's what you do. Those are the three things we needed to do with these horses. It's like, all right, whatever. So I meet my horse, Charlie, I think he was. Hi, Charlie, I'm Tim. How you doing? I love the beach, you know, sunsets. How about you? And then I take a big brush on my hand and I brush him, thinking if someone's brushing me, I'd like them. And then it comes to hoof pick time. I reach down to do the hoof thing and I go to pick up his leg, and, you know, horses, they weigh, you know, tons, I don't know, thousands of pounds, and he won't lift up his leg. And I'm, you know, up against his body. I'm doing the technique that they showed us how to do, and he won't pick up his leg. I'm like, what the heck, man? So the therapist, trainer guy comes over and he watches me like this. He's kind of looking at me doing this. And he finally says, so how's it going? You know, and I'm like, hey, not well. He won't pick up his foot. And the trainer therapist guy goes, so what do you need? I said, I need him to pick up his foot so I can clean out his stupid hoof, right? I mean, I don't even know what's the point of this anyway. We'll clean out his hoof and go put it right back in the horse poop again. So I think this is kind of stupid to begin with, but anyway, this is our deal. So I'm trying to do it and he still won't pick up his leg. And the guy says, so how's it going now? I said, not well. As you can see, I can't pick up his damn leg. And again, he says, so what do you need? It's like, I need you to shut up. That's what I need. And finally, it occurred to me. It's like, oh my God, I need help. Oh, yeah. Therapist goes, so is that what you do, Tim? When you need help and you get struggling, instead of asking for help, you get angry? Maybe I have hoof pick, I attack you. And just as we're discussing this, all of a sudden, a couple horses down, we hear this loud, like this whack. And we're like, what was that? And we look, and the therapist just, you know, he lit up. You could see it's like something really bad happened here. And he looks over there and he say, did you just slap that horse? And the guy was like, yeah, he won't pick up his leg. And the therapist just suddenly went, whoa, everybody, stop right where you are. All these horses, they're all here because they've been abused, they've been whipped, they've been beaten, starved, and they've all been healed. And now they're here to heal you. And he looks back at that guy. He goes, is that what you do? When you need help, you hit? And then he just went around the arena and he just started pointing at people. Do you drink? Do you eat? Do you lie? He points at me. He goes, he gets angry. And then the therapist has said to me, he goes, let's go back to work. I'll be back in a minute. And he walks away with that guy who slapped the horse. And it was one of those moments of like, oh, man. So I thought, okay, while I wait for him to come back, I'm just going to give it a go. I'm going to try one more time, right? And so I come back over to the horse. I'm going to do the technique. I come up against, I grab its leg, and I just effortlessly pick it up. It's like, come on, really? I pick it up, clean out his hoof. No big deal, set it back down. Therapist finally comes back around again. He goes, hey, Tim, you need some help? So, no, man, I did it. I was able to do it. He goes, oh, really? How'd that go? I said, it was easy. No big deal. I just did the technique like you taught us. Boom, got it. He said, oh. He said, before, were you a little angry? Maybe a little bit. He said, when you're angry, he said, where is it in your body? It's like, I don't know, maybe just kind of around here. And then he said, so where's it go? Maybe down my arm. Yeah. He said, you think that horse is stupid, don't you? Yeah. Is it? No. He said, that anger going down your arm into your hand and grabbing that horse's leg. He said, would you give someone your leg if they were angry? No. Why should the horse? Ask for the help you need, and you'll be able to help others with no pain. This is a lesson that I took the class on learning how to ask for help. And it changed me from that moment on, that when I find myself getting angry about stuff, it's the big red flag saying, you need to ask for help. When we get overwhelmed, and sometimes life isn't perfect, right? Sometimes it breaks and it gets really awkward and it hurts. I propose that you guys are, you don't know this, but a lot of you are Kenzugi masters. I'll show you what Kenzugi is. Kenzugi is an ancient art of putting pottery back together. And the legend goes that there was this great king who had a favorite teapot and it broke. And he sent that teapot to China, from Japan to China, to get fixed. And it came back, but the way it was fixed was crude and he didn't like it. And he gave an order. He said, I want someone to figure out how to put pottery back together again in a more beautiful way. And so Kenzugi, Ken means gold, Sugi means joining together with gold. And as you can see in this image right here, the broken pot, and then pieces back together, but missing one. And then the third image, or all the pieces are back together. But it has lines in it. It has fractures. And Kenzugi, the metaphor is that when life breaks and when things get really hard, you don't throw it away. You take your time, and with patience and with love and with care, with Kenzugi, you put the pieces back together again, but not just putting them back together, but putting them back together with gold. And it actually makes the original pot even more beautiful. A lot of you are probably masters of Kenzugi and you didn't even know it, because there are families that you have witnessed in the last 10 months who have fractured and broken apart because of COVID. And some of you probably have done some miracle Kenzugi work of helping families be put back together again. And I'm talking about anybody and everybody that if you step foot in an elder care arena and you have the potential of interacting with a family member or the person who you're caring for, we humans, we can't not have fractures and be broken at times, but we don't always have a master to help us. So I thought I would give you guys an exercise that is very helpful in times of stress and being overwhelmed. It's been approved by neuroscientists, actually. I came up with this exercise because I was working with a dementia clinic, and they were doing a big fundraiser, and they wanted me to put something together that could relate to people dealing with dementia issues, but at the same time be really healthy for everyone. So this is what I want you to do. Hopefully you're not watching this video on your cell phone, but I want you to get your cell phone. So you're hopefully on your laptop, your iPad, but probably, I'm gonna just crazy guess right now, but your cell phone's probably not too far away from you. So just grab your cell phone right now. We're gonna do this exercise so I can show you, then you can do it for others. And I'd actually like you that when you watch this, I'd love you to find someone, because if you're by yourself, but find someone and experiment with this. I guarantee you're going to find exactly what's going to happen here with us. You're going to find someone's going to really enjoy this. You're going to love this exercise. So go to your photo gallery. All right. Go to your photo gallery. Now, here's what I want you to do. Here's the criteria. I want you to find, you probably have 5,000 photos. All right. Just right now, pick one in the next few seconds. Pick one. And the one I want you to pick makes you feel good, makes you feel happy, and you think, I love that photo. All right. So go ahead. Pick that photo right now. I'm going to play along with everybody else. Right here. This is the one I'm going with. Right here. Yeah, this one. All right. So everybody got your photo? Get your photo. Now I'm going to share my photo with you guys. And this is what I want you to do when you do this exercise. So here's my photo. And I'll show you right here. That's my family. We were on the beach in Florida just a couple 6 weeks ago, I think it's like, and our daughter is in the military. She's in the Navy, and this was just before she shipped out. And because of COVID, we could not go to her boot camp graduation. We could not go to her education graduation. We almost didn't get to say goodbye to her, but we did just before she shipped out to the Middle East. So that photo to me makes me feel good, makes me feel happy, and I love that photo. So, you with me so far? That's the criteria, you find that photo. So I want you to find somebody that you do this exercise with. Now, any audience I ever do this with, if we were all together, I would ask you this. I'd say, okay, put your phones away. Now let me guess. How many shared a photo of your boss? Raise your hand. I'm going to guess nobody is raising their hand. Then I'm going to say, how many shared a photo of a pet? Oh yeah, 10 to 15%, maybe as much as 20% of people would have their hands up right now going, yeah, I had my dog and my moose or chicken or whatever it is you had. Then I say, how many shared a photo of a child? I'll get 75% of the audience will raise their hand, maybe 80%. And then I'll ask, how about a child pet combo? And there's usually a few of those. And then really all I have to ask is, how many shared a photo of something or someone you love? And I pretty much get everybody. Now, once in a while, granted, there's always an outlier that will, like one time a guy showed a whole case of Krispy Kreme donuts. And I said, are you married? Yeah. You have a wife? Yeah. And kids? Yeah. But you showed Krispy Kreme donuts. Yeah, I love donuts. You said pick something you love. I was like, yeah, okay. Anyway, love to hang out in that house. So that exercise that I just did with you, and this is where the neuroscience comes in. I just gave you an antidote, because I guarantee if you just did this exercise, you feel better. You just got a nice little hit of dopamine, a little hit of serotonin, those little feel-good neurochemicals. And you also got a nice little hit of oxytocin, right? Oxytocin, that bonding chemical that we bond with loved ones, that's oxytocin. So, remember when you fell in love for the first time, you were nothing but a bucket of oxytocin. You're like, I love that person so much. Yeah, well, that's oxytocin talking. But what I just gave you is an antidote. That when we get really overwhelmed, you can just grab your cell phone. And if you don't have your cell phone, if you're sitting in a space like right here, right behind me is, look, I've got these photos. I can just, right there, right? It's on my table all the time. And that's my dad and my son. And I can just look at that photo and just give it a few seconds. Ken Hansen is a neuroscientist out of California. He'll say, if you really want to rewire your brain, anytime you see something that's really beautiful and that makes you feel good and makes you feel happy, he said, don't just let it go. Hold on to it for really 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds and really waddle in it, really look at it and think about it. It's like, oh man. And he said, while you're doing that, it's rewiring your brain. And what happens is then you start to look around for what is good and what is right. And because when you feel good, you find these things that make you feel happy, it gives you the energy to fix what's wrong. And if anything, we need that now more than ever. There's a lot of brokenness. And so a lot of Kenzugi needs to be happening right about now. But you have to have a healthy heart and healthy mind in order to do that. So it's one of these things that I know it's not easy, but it's like there's a podcast, and it's called StoryCorps. And in StoryCorps is this where they go in and they interview. You can go into a room, into a little studio, and you can interview someone. And they want it really pretty brief. So the way I would put it to you, and you can share this with other families, that if you were to go into a room with one other person and you're going to interview them, what would you really want to know? What would be important? And I'm listening to this podcast, and it was a wife interviewing her husband who has dementia, and it's starting to come on and getting more severe, but he can still, communicate well with her and has enough memory that they can communicate and talk about their family. And this guy was a NASA space engineer his whole life. Worked for NASA as an engineer, rocket scientist kind of guy. And she asked him in this interview, she said, honey, what is it that scares you the most about this disease? And he said, the one blessing, which I thought, there's a blessing here? He said that his whole life as an aerospace engineer, he's always lived in his head. But now this disease, he lives in his heart. And he said, that's where all the action is. Oh. And he knows that someday he's going to forget his wife's name and he's going to forget his kids' names. But right now, he said, I'm just living in my heart. And that's where all the action is. And I think for us to learn from a man like this and to go through what he's gone through and going through, I think he's right. It's living in the heart. I don't know if you know, some of you, the medical staff, that the gut and the heart and the brain, they're all wired together. That when we were all the size of the end of a little pin, in the womb, we were a neurotube. The neurotube is what develops and makes the intestines. Then it comes up and it makes the central nervous system, and it makes the heart, and then it goes up and it makes the brain. That's how that all worked. And that all three of those, they all talk to each other. 86 billion neurons in your brain, 400 million in your heart, and I think 100 million in your gut of these neurons. And these neurons talk. More messages are sent from your heart to your head than vice versa. That when you feel something in your gut and you feel something in your heart, it's talking. If you did that exercise with a cell phone, where did you feel when you looked at these photos? Where did you feel it? In your head or in your heart or in your gut? This is, in my heart, in my gut. It's like, of course you did. When I worked with hospice, I went to a conference in California, and the title of the conference was on death and dying, which is like, it just seems so weird. I'm going to a conference on death and dying. Woohoo! How's that for conversation on the plane, the person next to you? So what do? I'm going to go hang out with people and talk about death and dying. That just stops conversations just like that. But one of the main speakers at this conference His name was Sergio Rinpoche. He's a Buddhist master. Rinpoche means master in Buddhism. And Sergio Rinpoche was a master. And at one point, and I'm going to tell you guys the real deal, because you're in the caregiving world, in the medical world, and you're do what these people were doing. So I'm just telling you how it was. All right. People outside your realm, I don't tell this part. But at one point, Sergio Rinpoche stopped, 150, 200 people in this room. And he said, "You have questions for me?" And some nurse raised her hand and she said, "Yeah, I have a question." He said, "Okay, what question? What's your question?" She said, "Yeah, when I'm working with like AIDS patients and people who are dying," she said, "it's really hard and the odor is really bad." And he just sat there and said, "Mm-hmm." And he said, "What do you need?" "Oh, how do I get through all this? Because, the odor is so bad and it really stinks and it's just really hard to deal with." And he just sits there and he just listened to her. And she goes on and on. Everyone's kind of like, okay, listen to her talk. And finally he said, "You want to answer?" And she was like, "Yeah, that'd be really great if you could help me out." And he said, "Use nose pen." He did this. And the whole place just went nuts. Everyone started laughing because she was all California heavy about this odor thing. And he comes up with "use nose pen." And then he said, "You know what your problem is? Think your shit stink. Shit is shit. Focus on compassion. Odor, go away." And then he said, "You have more questions for me?" And we all, "Oh, nope, we're good." It was one of the most stunning experiences I've ever had at a conference with this famous speaker, if you will. But that's really what he said. Focus on compassion. Odor, go away. And even in this time of COVID and being overwhelmed with everything that's bad, in the storm that we are currently in, and the waves are still coming, focus on compassion. Odor, go away. I'll wrap it up. Remember I said, obviously the boat did not go down that night, so I didn't die, but something happened. This is what happened. And it was at night, and I had my survival suit on, and I was trying to sleep in my bunk. And I literally was just holding on, praying that I wasn't going to die that night. But the boat hit a swell, and it just launched up. And I thought, okay, maybe it's this one. We're going to flip. And so I kind of went negative G's, like no gravity for a second. And I went flying up and hit the ceiling off my bunk because I was on the top bunk. And then the boat went just racing back down and just went. And then I missed the bunk and hit the edge and just went, whoa, 3 bunks down and just wham and hit the floor. And you never want to be lying on a floor when the seas are pitching because you're literally like that. And it just, whoo, we hit another swell and I just flew like a missile and went shoo, and then I stopped, dead stop. You know why? There was a wall. And it was like a melon. You ever take a melon, like a muskmelon, and boom, and hit it, and you hear that pop? That's what happened. Through the hood of my survival suit, it just went boom. I thought, oh, this isn't good. The melon just cracked. And I put my hand up underneath my hood and I pull it out and it's covered with blood. And my mom was a nurse, and I remember my mom saying, head wounds bleed easily, so don't get too freaked out. But I'm middle of the Bering Sea, 5,000 miles away from home, and my hand is covered with blood. And I'm hanging on thinking, the very first thought was, you're going to die, you idiot. But the second thought was, quit living a lie. Why was I on that boat? Why did I put myself in that position? Because I was running away from personal issues and personal problems and things I didn't like about myself, I guess. And I thought, well, I did the geographical happiness location move. If you move somewhere else, then you'll be happy. Well, I thought I'll move to a boat in Alaska, then I'll be happy. Because if you can't find happiness where you are, where do you expect to find it? And I'm now out in the middle of the Bering Sea with my head cracked. And I said, quit living a lie. Go back, tell the truth, go back to school, which I struggled with reading and writing and personal issues. And I asked for help and got some therapy. Things started going better in college and started to figure out what I really wanted to do. And that was to help people. And it took me to go that far away into that extreme to figure that out. But Sergio Rinpoche in that conference, he also said at the end, he said, you know why you people are so anxious about death? And the whole group just went, yes. And he's right. We are anxious about it. Just like I was standing on that boat, anxious about dying. He said, because death is like train station. You at train station, but your bags not packed. Your bags are the passions and dreams you have that you have not done. And your bags are the people you love who you not have told or make peace with. Pack bag, train come. And he's right. You don't need to carry it around. I don't know what passions and dreams you have that you haven't done yet, but you do. And I don't know what people you love that you haven't told or need to mend relationships with, but you do. So may you find that peace even in the storm that we're currently in. And God bless all of you for doing the work that you do with the elderly. And take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thanks for watching.